Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I am no means at all any kind of rod builder, but I recently broke a rod and I want to see if I can try to fix it. I've never broke one down on the lower eyelets before, and I don't feel like throwing away a rod just because I broke like an insert on an eyelet. So we're going to do a little bit of experimenting, and to keep with YouTube's good graces with the algorithms and whatnot, I really don't have a whole lot yet because obviously I can't fish yet. You guys know that, but it's coming really, 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 really soon. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you can catch those coming up. So anyway, this rod I've had for a long time. I've caught a lot of fish on it, and I really, really don't want to get rid of it just because of a broken eyelet. So I've kind of did some YouTube University to try and see how I could fix this, and we're going to try to experiment. It could go wrong. It could go south. It could work, but we're going to figure it out together. So let's get started. Alright, so I don't have all the pieces that I need that I saw in the videos, but I do have most of the components. The first one that I saw is they have this nice, obviously like rod holding setup with a rotisserie, like I think it's like a chicken rotisserie cooker to spin the rod while it's drying. Well, I don't have that. What I got is a drill and a zip tie. So I'm not going to buy a whole thing just to fix one rod. So and if I was really getting into rod building, obviously I'd get the rotisserie thing, but I don't want to do that. So we're going to see if we can make this work. The next thing you're going to need is some sort of tape. I've got painter's tape that works out good. Thread, so we can retie on the new one. Obviously, I have thread from all my, jig tying and fly tying that I do on my live streams. We're going to need the resin. I picked up this little thing of custom rod building finish resin at my local tackle shop. I was going to just buy like regular resin, but I wasn't really sure if it was the same stuff. And they had this readily available for me, so I just picked this up instead because obviously this is just plenty enough for what we need to do to fix the one. Well, two actually. I broke the tip and I broke the lower eyelet, so we're gonna do both of those today. So, and then I have my replacements here. So, and box cutter. So, yeah, that's kind of like the gist of what I have. The plan is to try and cut this one free, and then somehow rig up my drill to become some sort of a rotisserie dryer so we can dry that resin on there. That's the hardest part, I think, that I have planned. So most everything else I have confidence we can get through that piece, but the drying part is going to be the hard part. So let's see if we can get started and see what happens. The first thing that I've learned is that I'm going to need to tape it off just before, you see my gold lines there? That's like the ends of where the resin ends and the thread ends. We're going to tape it off just before that, right about there. So that way we're leaving where the resin and the rod meet. Let's tape it here, just like so. One down. And two down. Okay. Ooh. I got a little sideways on that one. Now it's cutting time. We want to create a line right where we started our blue tape on either side, and then we can start pulling away at the resin on the top of this broken eyelet first. Okay, I wouldn't be lying to you. I would be lying to you guys if I didn't tell you that I was a little bit nervous about this part, but let's start cutting into our fishing rod. I'm trying to get the best video I can for you guys, but I'm trying to do this in video at the same time might be a little strange for me. Okay, line there. Let's start cutting into that eyelet. Did we get it started? Oh, dang, we got it free already. At least 90% anyway. I wasn't kidding to you guys when I told you I have no clue what I'm doing here. We're just going for it. There we go. Okay. Broken eyelet out. Now comes the fun part of cleaning. We gotta get all this resin basically off here, all this old thread. All those years of me whittling sticks as a young kid needs to come out and start being handy for me. It's not going to be perfect, but I think it's going to be good enough for what we're doing. So I'm half tempted to just remove this blue tape right now. We're going to do that. All right. So I think what the idea is behind like leaving these little bits here is so when I do my new line and resin and all that stuff, you can kind of blend them together and make it look a little bit more professional and at least hide it a little bit more. But all right, step 2, we got to get this taped into position and in line with the other eyelets. So I'm going to step away from the camera for just a second. Oh, I think I got that pretty well taped in position. You guys can kind of see that there. Pretty well straight, maybe a little bit off to the left there, but we'll get it straightened out. But that's pretty dang close to getting that in line like we want it to. Okay, so this next step should be a little bit more familiar. I have it kind of somewhat set up in a fashion that I might be able to tie this on here. What we're going to want to do, basically tie a loop in this thing on the, and then tape it. We've hit about the halfway mark, so we're going to chop that off. And then we keep on going. Ooh, stop. Okay. And then we keep on going here. Oh, I almost forgot a critical step. Hold on. Next step, we're going to need a thread loop. I picked this orange one so you guys could see it a little bit better. And we're going to start to tie that in, so that way when we get to the end, we have something to pull the end through. If that makes any sense. You'll see in a minute. All right, let's keep rolling. We're doing okay so far. I think we made it to the end. Our wraps don't look terrible. It's time to cut the main line. Give myself a little extra thread there. And then we're going to go back over one last time. Open up our loop, which is going to be much harder. Unless I, hold on. There we go. Pull this through a little bit. Chop it. Finish pulling it through. Okay. I mean, for never doing this before, I'll take it. It's not perfect. We got some gaps. Maybe I can clean those up a little bit. But that should do it. All right, we're halfway there. Now we got to do the front. Oh, I just realized I made a critical mistake. I cut that thread and I didn't pull this through. I have an idea. I'm going to put you guys on pause for just a second while I try and figure this out. I was able to get the threads back in line there and get that underneath like we needed it to with minimal damage to my thread wraps. So we're going to take it. That's good enough for me. Now we're going to move to the front end here. And this time we're not going to be forgetting that first kind of critical step. And we're actually kind of honest with me. I think we take that away a little bit. And maybe we go again. All the way up to the top of the island again. Ooh, I'm trying to step. I want to cut the tag in from the start. There we go. That orange loop through kind of slowly, so make sure we got everybody back in line. There we go. Cut it right before we pull it all the way out, otherwise we're going to have a tag end here. Alright, well, I was able to get the tag end through by pulling it through the threads with the eyelet. I was able to like split this apart, pick it through, and pull it out and get it taut. So, I mean, again, I'm no professional at it, but that is going to hold just fine for what we need it to. Now on to the last step, and probably my most nervous step. We made it this far. So let's keep going. You know, I might want to hit this with a Sharpie first, just to dull that out before we do the resin step. All right, so I got this far. I need to. I have yet to figure out how I'm going to set the drill up and see how I get that to work. I think I got to figure out how to do it somehow in this room with what I have readily available. So give me a few minutes here to try and figure that out, and then I'll kind of videotape it, and you guys can see how I've got it set up at least. So, all right, it took a little bit of figuring, but I think I figured it out. I got the drill tip or the rod tip in the drill just like so, which is okay because that rod tip was broken anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. We're going to replace that anyway. But then I've got my phone stand for my videos and whatnot holding the back end of it. And so, case in point, obviously we won't be going that fast, but it works enough anyway. So, come on, focus. We can at least start doing our resin wrap or our resin now. So, I got this upside down turned can and a paintbrush, and we got to start mixing our 2-epoxy resin together. So fold it, do that maneuver, off we go with that. I'm going to save 50%, I guess, back in these tubes just because I'm not too sure if this is going to dry out on this on the top of this can. I need to set that off to the side for just a second while we get our rod moving. Now this part's going to be interesting. I've got to somehow get this zip tie at the exact level I need it to be. Okay. Man, I'm impressed at how well that actually worked, guys. Zip tie on, pretty much the lowest setting. And we're spinning. All right, for this first step, we're just going to put a light coating on here. Because we're just going to cover up the thread wraps and such. We don't want to get it too thick. I know, look thick. We're going to go back now. I think I got okay. Go back over here and see if I can clean this up a little bit. Okay. I think for now, guys, we're going to let this first round just kind of dry. At least a little bit. It's looking pretty good for the first round anyway. I think we're doing okay, guys. All right, we're going to let this sit and dry for, I don't know, about an hour. We'll come back and we'll do the second coat. Guys, this thing's been spinning for about an hour now. Normally about this point, it's starting to get tacky. I can feel it now. It's starting to get a little bit tacky. So now we're going to throw on that last coat. Most guys would wait a little bit longer and then sand it down a little bit so that we get a more clean edge coat. But I'm not too worried about that. I think we have gone way farther than I thought we were going to get with this. So let's go ahead and put on that finish coat and we'll call it done. All right, that's the resin. Here we go. Just gently paint it on there. Make sure they get somewhat even lines across there. And ready to front. There you go. You can see a few lumps here and there, but generally it's not bad. Alright guys, we're going to let that sit in the rotisserie thing for probably the rest of the night, at least a couple hours now. Now it's got to really sit and dry, and I'm not going to touch the tip at the moment. We're going to leave that as is. So we're going to let this kind of sit and through the night, and then I'll get back to you guys in the morning time, probably after I get off work, and we're gonna finish off the tip. And we have I would think, a really good working new rod. So heck yeah, dude, I think it's working. Okay, guys, it's the next day. I'm pretty stoked. This actually turned out really awesome. It dried and rotated for most of the night, and then at some point, before I went to bed, I turned it off, and I was hoping that it wasn't just going to droop and have little droop pieces on the bottom. And it didn't. So I'll show you guys how it turned out. All right, guys, that is our finished product. Now, like I said, there's some lumps in it, and it's not quite great there down there at the bottom, but I'd say for a repair on especially on a lower eyelet, this is perfect. It's going to work exactly like I need it to, so I don't see any downside to this. All right, so there is one thing that I didn't tell you guys. When I was taking the rod out of the drill, I ended up breaking the tip of the rod off in the drill bit. So it's okay though. It just broke off right below where the rod tip actually ends. So very easily fixable. We're just going to sand that down a little bit, and then we can stick the new rod tip on, and we're good to go. So we should have a really good working brand new rod at this point. All right, right about here, you guys see my beautiful handiwork I did to this thing, unfortunately, but it's all right. We can sand it down and put the new rod tip on, and we'll be good to go. All right, guys. Well, I sanded that down enough where I can get this this tip on here. I wanted to sand it down enough so I can get this this little bit smaller tip on there, but it's gonna work pretty good. And with this one, I think I'm just gonna throw in some super glue and call it a day. So that way we can get this rod somewhat back in working order here. Super glue I grabbed is like gel form stuff, so this is gonna actually work perfect for what we need. I'm just gonna wet that whistle right there. Pretty good. If I can do it. Maybe get a little bit down up in the hole of the eyelet. Making sure that we kind of line things up as best as we can, but we don't have to be too precise with this first part, but I'm going to double back that a bit and then squeeze that on there good and tight. Wipe off a little extra. And there we have it. New tip. There you have it, guys. New eyelet down low. New eyelet at the tip. And now I'm going to pair this thing up with my new Daiwa reel that I got at the Sportsman Show. A new Tatula. We have a pretty rad setup here that was destined for the trash, but now it gets to ride again. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you guys like what I do, make sure you guys subscribe. I got a bunch of fishing videos coming out soon, so make sure you guys stay tuned to check those out. Thanks. Later guys.